You hear me now? Okay. Sorry. Guess I'll reintroduce myself. My name is Laci McCabe. I am a counseling master's student here at Boise State. And to get started, you can't ask a soon-to-be counselor to speak without leading everyone in a breathing exercise when we're talking about stress. So I'll kind of explain it and then I'll walk everybody through it because it can be kind of awkward to do by yourself. But so this one's called active sighing. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a deep breath in. And when you feel like you can't really breathe in anymore, you breathe in a little bit more at the top. And then when you exhale, you're going to audibly sigh. And so this could sound very passive aggressive if the people around you don't know that that's what you're doing. So I want everyone to do it with me. So we're going to take a deep breath in and then a little breath, and then we're all going to sigh. Okay. Doesn't that feel good? So the reason that I bring up breathing exercises when we're talking about conquering stress, first, I think the title of this talk is a little bit ironic because I don't think you can actually conquer stress. I think we can learn how to manage it. And being in grad school, I'm not entirely sure that conquering it is going to be possible all the time. But I do want to start talking about your nervous system when we talk about stress. The nervous system kind of runs the show, and there's two different nervous systems. So there's the sympathetic, which is your fight or flight response. This is where you're kind of in this like danger mode. This is like the primal instinct to like be aware of your surroundings and like when you're feeling not safe. And this is kind of where like panic can set in. And then there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which you might have heard is called like rest and digest. This is where you can feel more peaceful and calm and safe. And I bring this up because your brain and your nervous system don't actually speak the same language, so to speak. So our nervous system kind of operates on that like, super biological primal response, danger response. And this is why we can't think our way into a more like calm state when we're stressed. You can't just tell yourself like, don't be stressed, be calm, whatever. And you can still like feel the tension in your body. And this is why, because we have to do things like breathing exercises to signal to our body that we're safe. And that will ultimately lead to like a signal to your brain that you're safe and you will feel less stressed. And so it kind of ends up being this cycle of then when your brain registers that you're less stressed, then you will be less stressed. So that's why the breathing exercises like we just did with the active sighing works, because like your vagus nerve is the nerve that kind of switches between those two nervous systems. And when you're actively sighing, your vocal cords are actually stimulating your vagus nerve. I could get really nerdy about the neuroscience and because I love that stuff. But that's why you can come in. You can come in. That's why like grounding techniques or breathing, anything like somatic, like with your senses, even just like touching something or smelling something like aromatherapy, those types of things tell your nervous system that you're safe and it's okay. Even when your mind is racing, those are some tricks that can help you kind of get into a less stressed state. So some common stressors in grad school is, of course, you're going to have higher levels of coursework. Your writing projects are going to be more intense. You're going to be writing at a higher level in a field that you've been trained in. Managing schoolwork, managing outside work, managing family, your lifestyle, relationships, establishing connections and having a support system both academically and professionally, this is kind of a really big time for creating those connections and maintaining them. And then, of course, like we might doubt our abilities and have imposter syndrome because we might feel like, how did I get here? I was just in undergrad, or, maybe it's been a while since you've been in school, but you're here for a reason, like you made it. And I think also when we talk about stress, the biggest thing is before you can help other people, before you can do work in other ways, like professionally, academically, you have to take care of yourself, because, better health is going to make you a better professional. This is the whole idea of putting your own oxygen mask on first, like on airplanes, always tell you to do your own mask before you help someone else. And this specifically hit me really hard, like halfway through the first year of my program. And I think, this is speaking from my profession personally, but I think it applies to a lot of other professions, and really everything. But just, it hit me hard when I was kind of filling my plate too much, and I was really stressed out, and realizing that I cannot show up for my clients as a therapist if I'm not showing up for myself and I'm not taking care of myself first. And what a disservice that is to myself as a professional and to my clients. And I think that can, whether you have clients or not, whether, you're having, to write super scientific things for your job or whatever, like it applies to all professions. Like you can't do that work and be good at it and also not manage your plate well, or like be super stressed. And just kind of like that core foundation, really, really hit me. You can like think about it in concept. And I was like, yeah, like for the first 6 months, like my first semester, like, yeah, I get that. Like take care of yourself, self-care, that's great. And then when it's like, oh, I can't keep doing what I'm doing and also be good at my profession. I think it's super important if you can prevent that realization instead of just getting halfway through your first year and being like, oh no. And so I wanted to bring up the Healthy Mind Platter, which is this concept that consists of 7 principles that support optimal brain health. And I think kind of the main person who created this was Dr. Siegel and David Rock. We talk about this a lot in my program. These are just kind of like areas of life that if you can put some focus into each one, will ultimately lead you to better health, a better life, and to be a better professional. And so those are going to be sleep, physical, focus, time in, downtime, playtime, and connecting time. And then the one that we always add in my program is this one actually doesn't talk about nutrition, but that can be a thing that you add to, just like making sure you're eating well and eating consistently and taking care of yourself in that way too. Right, yeah, excellent point. Love that. So I think we all know that sleep is important, but it is kind of the first thing that can go out the window in grad school. I think really prioritizing, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, that's pretty standard for adults. And, things that can affect your sleep, and they call it sleep hygiene. You can have poor sleep hygiene, which can be, drinking too much caffeine. And I am definitely guilty of this, all times of day. Having too much screen time, especially like in the couple hours before going to sleep. And then insufficient exposure to natural light, which I think is interesting. I guess like we have a lot of natural light here, but places like Alaska or whatever that don't have a lot of natural light time during the day, I imagine that affects your sleep too, because it's like a circadian rhythm thing. Our brains know to shut down in the dark usually, unless you're in grad school, then you're like up in the middle of the night writing. And then of course, like alcohol or other medications, those can affect your sleep. And then there's of course negative effects of lack of sleep. So it can affect your mood, it can affect your memory, your ability to concentrate, your balance, coordination, blood pressure, and your risk of injury and serious illness. So I was especially looking at memory and ability to concentrate. Those are super important in grad school. And then physical time. So it's recommended like 30 to 60 minutes of aerobic exercise, 3 to 5 times per week. Our barriers to physical exercise, I mean, it can be anything, but especially time constraints, can be like financially, you can be intimidated. There can be like physical limitations, family commitments, work. I mean, the list could go on. But just an encouragement to including that like physical exercise into your life 3 to 5 times per week. It helps with emotional regulation, which I think is super important in grad school. Is there's going to be some emotional times, and being able to regulate that. And then also like supports the growth of new brain cells. Again, important for writing and grad school. And then of course it reduces your risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, mental illness. We know all of those things, but just remembering that it's a important aspect that, adds to your graduate college life too. And so focus time, like on this healthy mind platter, it's kind of like managing your attention and focusing on one specific task. And I think, we can feel focused even if we're doing multiple things, but I think what this is emphasizing is just the neural networks that are created when you have focused time and the ability to refocus when you've had distractions. That's kind of like connected to mindfulness in a way, like being able to take your mind from distractions into a focused place. Just that practice over and over changes neural networks over time. And so that focus time is what helps also support the prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is in charge of executive functioning. And so even if like your focus time is a task that's on a screen, you can still limit your physical and digital distractions so that you can have focus time. And so this can be turning off notifications, telling whoever's living in your house that you're focusing, going to a new quiet spot, and like putting your devices in airplane mode or do not disturb mode. And then what Dr. Siegel talks about in the Healthy Mind Platter is like time in and downtime. And the difference between these is that time in is kind of that like internal work, focusing on the here and now, feeling through your thoughts and emotions, noticing when you're like using avoidant behavior. So maybe you're scrolling on TikTok forever or something instead of writing the paper you need to write. And like it might be helpful like during this time to have a friend or a counselor that you can call on if like it's just really hard to process emotions. And then I like to relate this to mindfulness too, is just like even 5 minutes of that like internal time can reduce 5 minutes a day can reduce anxiety, depression, improve your sleep, and lower your blood pressure. And then what they call downtime is basically just not having an intention, but being intentional about not having an intention. So daydreaming or listening to music or intentionally scrolling through social media and like having true relaxation where you don't have to be anywhere or do anything or even think about anything. And I like to point out here, like the scrolling on social media thing, it feels different when you're doing it intentionally than when you're doing it to avoid or like doing it mindlessly. it has a very different feel to it, because when it's mindless, it's like I was supposed to accomplish things and I haven't. And when it's more mindful, it's like, okay, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to do this because I really need to shut my brain off. And then playtime, according to the Healthy Mind Platter, is partaking in activities that are outside of your normal routine. So your brain really loves novel experiences. It helps form new connections in your brain. And so, fun activities, adventurous, exploratory, just like having fun. And if you have a hard time figuring out what can be like play, sometimes it's helpful to ask, what did you enjoy most when you were a kid? Sometimes it's like run around with a sword or something. Like maybe that would bring you joy now. And so then connecting time, which would of course be, having connections with your friends and your family, building healthy relationships. And there's a lot of positive effects for this. Like when there are positive social interactions, it helps decrease anxiety, reduce depression, helps with emotional regulation, improves your immune system, and can even lengthen your life. And it also activates that parasympathetic nervous system, so like the safety response that helps you be less stressed. So I use some examples here, but I like to think of like preventing burnout or preventing stress. I mean, it's going to happen. So if you make a plan that can help kind of stop it in its tracks to prevent things getting like really bad. And so I like to think of it as like a traffic light. Green is like, all my assignments are on time. I'm really on top of things. I feel really connected with other people. All those Healthy Mind Platter elements, some aspect of all of them are kind of incorporated in my days. Getting enough sleep, all of that. Those are like green light. Everything's good. When it starts getting more towards red, but you're in the yellow. So for me, it's like when my calendar is like so packed out, like back to back, it looks like one of those Tetris games. Maybe there's like piles of laundry and like I'm not like super taking care of myself and getting less sleep and drinking a lot more coffee and maybe I'm procrastinating a little bit or on assignments or things like that. And then red is like, I have no idea what's going on. I keep forgetting to feed my cat. My plants aren't watered. I don't know when I wash my hair. I'm not sleeping. Those are like big burnout signs of stress. And the goal is to not get to those points, but realizing what those signs are and maybe writing them out for yourself can help you know like what works for you and where to catch things from like spiraling. What works best for you. And so those are just some examples. But always remember, there's programs, there's departments here that are here to help you and be resources for you to help manage stress. And, especially in the graduate college, we're in the Graduate Student Success Center. So there's lots of writing help, research help. The library can help you with research too. And yeah, there's just lots of support with the Student Success Center. And then I want to highlight GradWell, which is a program on campus. It's kind of like between the Graduate College and BroncoFit, a collaboration there. Their main goal is to focus on the mental health of students, graduate students at Boise State, and just like help with your well-being and academic success. So they have a lot of wellness education. They facilitate mental health resources, and they do a lot of like fun events. So you can like meet other grad students and find resources and connections there. So they do have an event coming up. I think it is RSVP, but it's the GradWell Welcome Fest. It's going to be at the Student Union building, like the patio, 5 to 7 on the 30th. I believe they're having food like tacos or something. But it's a chance to like play games and connect with other grad students And this like at boisestate.edu/BroncoFit, which BroncoFit is like they're kind of a department that focuses on wellness slash GradWell. Yeah, so RSVP to that if you want to attend. And then there's a few resources on this document. If you want to like pull up the QR, you can. There's just like some ideas for like yoga, YouTube, and like resources on campus. There's like the Gender Equity Center and GradWell and like various links on that document if you're interested in checking that out. That's kind of it for me, but do y'all have any questions? I feel like I ran through that a little fast. Yeah, happy to talk about, other stress questions that you have, managing stress in grad school. Questions online? No? Okay. Man, I really ran through that, but now I'm less stressed, so. Awesome. Well, thank you. And for those of you who joined, my name is Laci. I'm one of the writing coaches in the Graduate Student Success Center along with Mark. And so we are available to help with like your writing assignments, if you need like brainstorming sessions, editing, like anything like that. You can, I think they're working on updating the website, but there are links where you can book with either of us and set up some writing consultation times. And so that's definitely a resource. The Graduate Student Success Center is here for you. So definitely hit us up. Thanks. Okay. So we are the Graduate Student Success Center writing coaches. That's such a mouthful. GSSC is what we call it. My name is Laci. This is Mark. He'll introduce himself, but yeah, so we are going to be talking about like what is graduate level writing, and I'll pass it off to Mark.
Okay. See if I can get this figured out. Well, all right. So let's put that one again. I'm Mark Colafranceschi. I'm a master's in teaching. So I'm a master's in teaching secondary education student here at Boise State. So I will be teaching English here pretty soon, working through my program at the moment. And I am a writing coach at the GSSC along with Laci. So it's not quite up yet, but in the next few days here, we'll have a little bio and you can book either of us. Probably won't be needing us right away off the bat, but as the semester goes on, we've got a lot of different writing coaching and workshops and things to offer. So maybe be on the lookout for that. So today, Laci already kind of gave you a little intro. We're just going to go over what graduate level writing is. I'm assuming a lot of you are coming from undergraduate positions, or you took an undergraduate in the past. So probably familiar with that process. But graduate writing is going to be a little bit different in some ways. There's some overlap, but we'll go over that. So prepare. Obviously, being prepared is a huge part of it. You're going to want to schedule time. And you might have gotten away with a little more procrastination in your undergrad, put things off to the last minute, but that is not going to be something you can always get away with. So making sure that you make time for research, for revision, for editing. And I mean, it helps so much to you always have a due date, but trying to do it as soon as you can just gives you so much more flexibility. I know it's hard to actually stay true to that, but it is really helpful. So just to compare undergraduate versus graduate level writing, in a lot of situations in the undergrad, you're more demonstrating your knowledge of a topic. So there's going to be assigned prompts that you're responding to. You're going to have a lot more outline in the work. Your professor is going to work you through exactly what your writing is going to involve. This will be more hands-on in that way. But as you step up to graduate level writing, you're kind of taking the reins and you are approaching the topic from the position of an expert, which you would be doing less of in an undergraduate position. That's going to mean you're going to have to approach topics with new understanding. You're going to be trying to provide some new novel concepts and actually expand to the conversation in new ways rather than just demonstrate that you understand them. Both can be similar. You're going to use credible sources all the time, undergraduate, graduate. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with research and finding peer-reviewed, reliable sources. So that's going to be something that stays true. Obviously, proofreading, grammatically correct writing, no typos, and remain diligent about that. Don't plagiarize. Probably cite your sources. It's going to be super important in both. And a big difference is that so at a graduate level, you're actually trying to convince and change your audience's mind. If you want to get your paper published, you need to provide something that is specialized and has something to offer. You're not, like I've repeated a lot of times, but it is the main difference is that you're not just demonstrating knowledge. The people that are reading your writing are knowledgeable on the topic, but they want to learn more, just like you. So pairing, research is going to be a huge part of graduate level writing. Already it was in undergrad, research is a huge part of it, but even more in graduate. So just familiarizing yourself with the genre and the discipline that you're writing in is going to be one of the biggest things you can do to prepare yourself for actually writing in the field of study that you're in. So learning the code terms, learning the different types of writing, the way just the vocabulary and the way that they speak within your field is going to really set you apart. It's really important that you establish yourself as a member of the field that you are writing for people to take you seriously. And that's going to be something that will really either show or not show through the research that you do in your work. So one of the resources that you can use for collecting resources, a notebook, Rocketbook notebook is a good one. And just keeping a good organized research process is a huge part of success there. Oh, too far. So some of the elements of graduate level writing, you're going to create an argument or thesis effectively. That should be clear to your audience, to yourself. Obviously, you don't want to start without having a good starting point there. You're going to review and discuss scholarly literature on the topic. The more research you can do, the better. Obviously, you don't want to inundate your entire writing with research, but having that background is just going to make it so much easier when when you actually put the words on paper. That research is going to be what makes a difference. So you're going to use all that research to build hopefully a new idea and really contribute to the topic that you're writing on. And should be scholarly and well edited and revised. So writing process, this can look different for everyone. It's not really something you can boil down to like a step-by-step process, especially at the graduate level, but it does help to have kind of an outline. Everyone's going to write differently. You're all gonna have different strategies. A lot of we all want to dream that we can just research, think about something, and then when the time comes, just put it all on paper, all out there right away. A lot of times that's not the way we actually end up writing. Sometimes it takes like 3 or 4 drafts before you actually know how you want things to work out, and that's totally fine. But just for like a general outline, 5 steps you can typically follow. So consider your argument, consider your perspective, develop a thesis on that, research it, find out what people are saying about that topic already, find out what's out there, and then start to put it all together, synthesize, identify all the themes that you found and connect them, and then finally revise it. And hopefully you've got a great final product there. But, so getting into research, probably the biggest part of the writing process is the actual support and the research. I mean, writing is like just the 1%. That's where it all comes together, but really your knowledge and research is what it all comes down to. So knowing how to use keywords effectively is going to be one of the biggest steps in actually finding what you want to find. Part of that comes down to reading just other articles in the field, and then being able to identify some of those common terms and how they overlap. So a lot of times there will be a keyword that you can replace with other words and end up getting the same results. So knowing where those overlaps are is really important. An example in my field of education would be if I'm looking into content literacy instruction, I might look up some different terms like content area literacy, disciplinary literacy, and content knowledge. Those are all kind of under the same umbrella, and they're going to get me similar results. So knowing how to do that is a huge part. And then once you have your keywords, you move into a database. I would assume a lot of you have experience with using databases. Albertson's library is a really good tool. There's some courses on that available as well. There'll be a link on the next slides too, if you're not familiar with how to use that, but there's kind of a hierarchy here. Little flipped triangle. So obviously starting point is going to be Google. If you want to find just like general ideas on the topic, find some keywords and like more generalized, less academic approach. It's a great place to start, but these won't be resources you typically end up taking along with you to the end product. And as you filter down, you work into like Google Scholar and different, and then you eventually into actual academic journals and databases, where you'll mostly rely for a good argument at a graduate level. And then that hyper or that QR code there is this little link to some how-to videos if you're looking for ways to familiarize yourself with the Albertson's library. Okay. This kind of goes into the keywords, but just remember that there's multiple ways to say a lot of things, even in a very specialized field. There will be some different ways, different terms that you can use. So being familiar with that is a big part of effective research. So example here is if you're looking into teacher candidates and teachers in training, you might also look up something along the same context, which teachers in training are going to be taking clinics. They're going to be doing learning labs, and those overlap in a way. So like really figuring out ways to draw connections between terms and your research is going to be a good way to get a well-rounded background for your research. If you're not familiar, you can use operators to use to search in these search engines. So and, or, minus sign, double quotation marks. These are going to change the results that you get. And will include multiple results if you're looking for a couple different topics that are similar enough that you could take either. You'd use and, obviously, and then or, something where the concepts are a little different and you might want to separate the two. I use or, minus sign if you're trying to reduce the terms, but you want specific topic. And then the one I end up using the most is the double quotation marks when I'm looking for an exact term. That will give you exactly what you search for. It'll only show you results for that. So it's a personal favorite. Then organizing and synthesizing. Pass it on to Laci here.
Hi again. Thank you, Mark. Is that okay? Can you hear me? Okay. And I have to work. Okay, so organizing and synthesizing your research is going to be really important to do along the way while you're writing and doing your research, because there's nothing worse than not keeping track of your sources and then having to go back and find, what quotes go to what, citation and things like that. So I'm going to give you some ways to organize your research and kind of start synthesizing it along the way before you even start writing, so you can stay organized. So you've done the research, maybe you found sources, you've read the abstracts, maybe you haven't read word for word yet, and you know that they support your argument or they provide novel insight. And so this is where you would want to start organizing when you are reading your sources word for word in more detail. Organizing and synthesizing as you go will be the best thing you can do for your future self. So synthesizing is more combining ideas and formulating your opinion on them and writing them kind of in your own words, more so than like listing out or summarizing or regurgitating the information that's in the literature. And so you're combining ideas to make an overall point for your argument. And this can show similarities and differences between the different sources that you are providing to either support an argument or even include as like a different view of an argument that you're making. So these are some matrices that you can use to stay organized. You might have learned about these in undergrad, but this would be like a summary matrix. So the column on the left there would be where you list your sources, and then this is kind of just summarizing the details of each of your articles. So you know what the main point is, the purpose or the research question. You know what methods they used, what context and who the participants were, and what they found, and any notes that you want to add on that. But this is just kind of a zoomed out view of all the resources that you have and the citations that you're going to use, kind of all in one place to stay organized. And then this is a synthesis matrix. So this would kind of highlight the themes or topics or concepts that are in multiple sources. And so here in the column on the left, you would kind of like point out your theme. And then for each of the sources, you can talk about, you can summarize or like talk about your opinion of what each source says about the theme. So maybe you have one overarching idea, but there's several arguments that can be made for it. This is a good place to put like your different, highlight your different sources and stay organized that way over themes and concepts instead of just summarizing, the number of articles that you have. We all know that citations are important. Definitely want to follow what your program requires, what your assignments require. APA, MLA, Chicago, just know what format that you'll be using a lot of. And something that's really big, keep in mind, I met someone who was, a year into grad school who didn't realize that the citation generators on a lot of the literature, like platforms or databases, they aren't correctly formatted. So if you just spit out that citation in whatever format you have, it's not guaranteed that it is like perfectly done. I would always check them, always edit them, especially, if you have, instructors that are really big on the nuance of APA or whatever, like sometimes there's commas missing, etc. I would recommend even getting like the latest edition of the book for the formatting that you're using. So like the APA manual. I've had professors that are very adamant about following that and not even following online sources like Purdue OWL, which I still use a lot. I think that one is really great. But sometimes it has to be really by the book. So I would recommend that. Purdue OWL is free. It has a lot of, it's organized in a way that you can find what kind of citation or reference you're needing for like books or articles, and they provide good examples and like a good like template that you can kind of fill in with all of your information. So again, you want to keep track of your sources because you don't want to have to go back later. Stay organized. Using those matrices is great. A reference manager system such as Zotero or Mendeley can help, keep record of your sources as you go, and make sure to double check your citations. Again, kind of harping on that, but it's super important in graduate level writing. Your readers should be really clear on why you're using a citation and where you're coming from, and knowing where that information is coming from is super important in graduate level writing. So I have some tips on drafting. So there's kind of like initial outlines and the more detailed outlines. And some of these things are just what worked for me, or Mark and I had talked, and what works for both of us. So they're just ideas. Everybody's different. But like an initial outline can be just a brain dump. Just get it out of your brain so that you don't have to process it in there anymore, and you can actually see it on paper. And so that can be like bullet points or just lists of key points. I like making mind maps too, and canva.com has a great like whiteboard feature, and you can make a mind map on there. But basically you can just use it to like organize the topics or themes or questions, and kind of figure out where they all kind of fit in different sections of your paper, just to get it out of your brain. This is also a great place to ask yourself questions and see if you can answer them. Just answer them the best that you can as a starting point for what you're going to be writing about. And then more detailed outlines. This is my system of organizing outlines. To me, writing a topic sentence, it can be half the battle. You have to come up with like really good topic sentence, like this is what I'm going to talk about, and then the rest of your paragraph is what you're talking about, and then at the end it's what I just talked about. And so the topic sentences, coming up with those can be just like a big hurdle for writing, and that can be part of your outline process when you're doing a detailed outline. So writing out your topic sentences, and then writing out the themes or arguments that you want to make in each paragraph. So maybe you have a topic sentence, then you have 3 arguments that you want to make within that, and then maybe you come up with like a last sentence to transition into the next paragraph. But here's where you're going to come up with your research, and take all the research that you did. You can paraphrase it and apply it to each of the arguments in each paragraph. And so that's like a really detailed outline. It's still kind of like a skeleton view. But from there, it's a lot easier to fill in with your insights and the transitions between arguments and transitions between paragraphs. And so that just kind of, it's like a flesh out of the outline. And then from there, you can really fill it in and bulk it up. And then the like writing narrative, the place that you're coming from in your writing will depend on your instructor's preferences and your formatting requirements. But in graduate level writing, first person is usually qualifying a personal opinion or belief, discussing like your role in a research procedure, and incorporating life experience. The like second person like constructions are less used in graduate writing. Again, it's everybody's program is different. But in like scientific writing and technical writing research, a lot of times you're not saying like you, your, yours, yourself, yourselves. Again, depending on your field of study, but it creates an informal feeling, like you're talking at someone. instead of talking about something, and it lacks clarity. It's really easy for your reader to get lost when you're just saying the word you, like which you are you talking about. So like Mark had talked about, you're providing your insight in your writing, not just a reflection or a regurgitation of information. And so it's a really fine balance, especially I write in APA a lot. So it's a fine balance between like providing your insight in a way that's technical, which is something we can help with as writing coaches. But some tips for drafting is if you feel stuck, always refer back to your outline. It's not final, and so you can keep revising it. Writing fast and editing slow can be helpful because sometimes, again, it's just getting it out of your brain and then figuring out what to do with it. That's helpful. At any stage of drafting, getting feedback, even at the brainstorming stage, is a good idea. And I would even recommend like collaborating with someone or doing a brainstorm session, getting help from the writing coaches like in the early stages. It's great. You can do it at any stage, but if you do it in the early stages, then you don't have a whole paper written that you have to change when you're like, oh, actually, I want to do this like different perspective. You don't have to rewrite your whole paper. So that's kind of helpful. Revising and editing. This is from Stephen King. Revision can be considered more of like making major changes to content and structure of your writing. This is where a lot of synthesizing and condensing for concisiveness happens. You can easily remove things more than add things sometimes, especially in the later stages of writing. Sometimes it's better just put everything out there and hone it down, and instead of having to like come up with new content later. So the editing stage usually happens later in the drafting process. Usually this is sentence level changes, small details, grammar. And during the editing process, I would really recommend, like it is a super important part of the process, but getting a second pair of eyes on it is always helpful. Reading your paper out loud is helpful, and it sounds annoying and cheesy and whatever, but it really does help because it helps your writing sound more natural. When like sometimes if you write a certain way, you might not like speak it a certain way, and it reading out loud helps you catch some of those like unnatural sounding sentences, and can help you catch grammatical errors that maybe your brain is just skipping over when you're editing. Also, having someone else read out loud to you is helpful to hear it from somebody else, and how maybe other people are, perceiving it. Always allow probably more time than you think you need for editing and drafting because it is a big part of the process. And then, of course, you can see us at the GSSC and set up a writing consultation. And some things to avoid in graduate level writing is like figurative language, so metaphors, similes, rhymes, puns, alliteration, cliches or idioms. So sometimes there can be, a language barrier with your writing. If you're getting published, like it could be international, people are reading your article, and it's easy for like other cultures to not understand what out of the blue means, like the color blue, we have no idea. And so it's easy to be dated when you're using stuff like this, because it might be like a slang type of thing for a specific time. And then also, you can just lose some clarity there. But rhetorical questions like, what do these results say about the population? We want to avoid those. It should be more of a statement like, these results indicate several things about the population, and then you go into detail on what those things are. You want to avoid excessive quoting and excessive block quotes, because at a graduate level, you should be able to paraphrase quotes and synthesize it and kind of add your own spin instead of just quoting word for word. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's pointless to do that, and you really should use your own words. Also, don't use big words that you wouldn't normally use just for the fun of it. A thesaurus can be good for like remembering a word or getting ideas for like ways to use other words, but you don't have to use it for just finding new big words for fun. And Mark had the excellent point that your idea should be the impressive part of your writing and not your vocabulary. Remember, the writing process takes time. Drafting can include a lot of restructuring. You're going to be adding research. You're going to be confirming facts. Editing can be time consuming. So make sure to give yourself time. Again, another reason not to procrastinate. And then taking time away from your writing can actually make your writing better and make you a better writer. And by that, I don't mean procrastinating. I mean, maybe taking some space between drafting and editing, or taking some space between creating your outline and then starting to write, just letting your ideas marinate, maybe sleeping on it. I noticed for me, a lot of times I set aside a full day of editing so that I can just sleep on what I wrote about. And then when I come back to it, I have a fresh mind and can make changes from that place instead of like, I've already been here for hours and I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. So we're always here, and we're happy to help, but also remember that you're here, so you were already writing at the graduate level. And wanted to leave you with some writing inspiration from some authors. I write to discover what I know. Just get it down, take chances. It may be bad, but it's the only way you can do anything really good. Start writing no matter what. The water does not flow until the faucet is turned on, and you can't edit a blank page. So just start writing, and then we're here to help. Thanks. Anybody have questions? Yes.
Are you guys open to like for those who tend to work on their thesis like during the summer before they graduate? Like, are you guys open to that?
Yeah, so the question is, I'm just repeating the question for Zoom. The question is, are we open for the summer, people who are working on those big like thesis and dissertation projects? Yes, we are. I think the hours are just a little bit more limited, and we might have one writing consultant instead of two, but there is someone available for sure. Yeah. Any, yes.
Oh yeah, you don't understand the term procrastinate.
Yeah, so like putting something off, like when you could do it right now, but you're like, no, and then you wait, and then it's like, it's due in an hour. Yeah, so avoiding doing that, putting things off. Yeah, that is like the number one piece of advice I have for grad school is you cannot procrastinate the way that you did in undergrad. Yeah, and the repercussions are worse. So are there any more questions for me or Mark? I can pass the mic too. Perfect. I think they are still working. So the question on the chat was just where can we be reached? And the GSSC website, which is still a little bit under construction, but pretty soon, I think starting next week, you'll be able to book writing consultation blocks with me and Mark, and everything will be kind of updated by next week for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, and come see us at the GSSC. Yeah, I think we're good. Thanks. Okay.
All my own rules. Was talking to the mic. Oh, Wayne's back. I don't want to talk. Here we go.
All right. Excellent. Great job. Appreciate that. All right. That puts the wrap on day 2. Unless, again, if there's any questions you guys have about anything overall. don't be afraid to let us know. You can email success@boisestate.edu. That one comes directly to me. Well, any questions you might have, we are in room 117, which is the office just as you come in the front doors with the glass panels. There's a lot going on down there. The success center is down there. The recruiting specialist is down there. Our 2 GAs are down there. There's just lots of things to stop in and connect with. I'll throw out as well. I know I threw it out yesterday and I know some of you weren't here. Our recruiting specialist is looking for graduate assistants and students to participate in our new graduate ambassadors program. If you're interested in either of those positions, let me know and I can put you in touch with her and she can give you some more information about how to apply, where the forms are located and all that stuff. But we are definitely looking for students to participate in these new programs to help with recruiting. So if you are interested, let me know or pop in downstairs to 117 and we can get you that information. Beyond that, that'll wrap up day 2. Hopefully we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. We'll talk about resources. We'll have the library come over and give you a rundown as to what they have, what kind of services they have that are available, how to access those services. And then we'll just keep moving forward on grad prep until we get to orientation on Friday. So thanks to everybody that was online for joining us. Again, if you have any questions, email, pop in. We're here to help with whatever you need to get going next week. Thanks.